We should be live right now, if I am not mistaken. Let me check that very quickly. I hope you guys can see me and hear me. That would be awesome. Yes, here we are. Cool. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is me. I'm very, very happy to see you, to meet you. This is my face. I will be showing you what I have in store for you in a second. And actually, I thought we might just jump right into it because I don't know if you've ever taken part in a webinar where the person talks about themselves for the first 15 minutes. And it's not that you don't care, but this is not what you're here for. This is not what I'm going to do. If you want to talk at the end of the webinar, we can do this, but let's jump right into it, okay? The theme of this webinar is French tenses, right? I hope you didn't get like, I don't know, sick just by hearing this, because I know some of my students tended to go crazy trying to understand French tenses on their own in the beginning, but don't worry, we're gonna make it work, okay? I'm gonna have to remove my face a little bit, but I am still here. I just need to show you the document that I have. So maybe what you do, I'm going to assume that English is your native language or that you speak it very, very well, and this is why you're here. Maybe what you do is that you translate from English to French, and you translate like word for word, and then it doesn't really work, and you're wondering why. Well, this is because, to cut it in a nutshell, it's because all languages are made up. So what you guys, by you guys I mean English native speakers, defined as, oh, this is how we say the past, you guys came up with it on your own. And then we, French native speakers, were like, oh no, this is how we define the past, and we just came up with it. Like, there is no absolute way of defining the past that is common to every single language. So this is why what I try to do in my classes is to teach you guys the logic of the language so that you can make it your own, and then you can just build your own sentences. I'm like, oh yeah, I know how the French think. I can make this work. Okay? Maybe it sounds a bit vague right now, but let me show you what I mean. Alors, face, small. Face small. Can you please make face small? Meh. Okay. Here we are. This may feel weird to you that this is what I'm starting with. Okay, face, small, face. Allez, vas-y. Allez, vas-y, fais-moi plaisir. Ouais, ah ben non, c'est le max. Okay, this is as small as I get. Okay, whatever. So, to make sure that you guys don't translate from your own language, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but we kind of need to have a look at your language, at English, okay? So, and I swear this is relevant. Trust me on this. I know we've only just met, but you can trust me on this. So this is what your language looks like. Let me just try and make it even. Yes, cool. Okay. So you guys are lucky because your tenses, they all fit neatly into one table. And, you know, like it has columns and it has lines, and you just, oh, okay, present simple looks like this, and past perfect looks like this, and it all just makes sense. Let me tell you straight away, we cannot fit French tenses into such a neat table, unfortunately, but don't worry, we can still make sense of it. So I just want to show you quickly how English creates their tenses. This is going to give you what I think is very important and what I call, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one to call it, but I like the term, linguistic awareness. Like, you need to realize that you guys have rules, because my students are like, yeah, but you know, like I speak English and I just know how to speak it, but they don't really have an awareness of how their language works. And this is actually really, really helpful to understand other languages. Really, really, really. So here we are. How does English work? Well, you guys have 3 auxiliaries. Auxiliaries are helping verbs. They're a verb that help other verbs to do what they cannot do on their own. Okay? That's it. So, for example, for the simple tenses, you guys use the auxiliary do. For the continuous tenses, you use be. For the perfect tenses, you use have. okay? And then perfect continuous is just a mix of these two. Already, like, try to think of it like as you're not, as if you were not an English, a native English speaker, okay? In school, people would teach us that, okay, so simple tenses you need to use do. And then they show you the present simple, like she goes and they go, and the past simple, she went and they went, and we're like, where the hell is the do? Thank you very much. Like, I can see it in she is going. I can see it in they have gone, for example, but where the hell is it doing? Like, oh, yeah, no, sorry, you know, it's a simple tense, so it's only one bit, unless you want to ask a question. This is when you need the do, like, where does she go? Every night, for example. Or, of course, when you make a negative sentence, then you also need to do, of course. And we're like, no, not of course. Like, you guys came up with it. It's natural to you, but it's not natural at all to us. Same with everything else. Like, okay, be plus ing, cool, this is the structure. This is the columns, right? One auxiliary per column, okay? And then you have the lines, and the lines, it's when, pretty much, okay? So, like I said here, the auxiliary carries everything, the tense and the person. As you can see, depending on the person, it changes. She is going versus they are going. And depending on the tense, they also change. So here we had she is going, and here we have she was going. Okay? So far, the only thing I want you to, like, I hope you understand is that you guys structure tenses as well, and you just decided that be plus ing would mean continuous and have plus ed would mean perfect, okay? And I'm sure that you know when to use all of these tenses, and maybe you wouldn't be able to explain it to someone who's learning English, but that's okay. This is where we're going to shed light on, and then we're going to see what tenses the French use to express the same thing, okay? You might also say, like, oh, come on, she will have been going. Nobody uses that. You're right. But there are times when you need exactly that tense, because what it says is different from the perfect or from the continuous, and you do need both in the future sometimes. For example, oh, okay, so by the time the competition starts, she will have been going to the gym for 6 months. Therefore, I think she will be ready, because she's been going to the gym for 2 months. The competition is in 4 months. So by the time the competition starts, she will have been going to the gym for 6 months. Yes? Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? Are you following me? I hope you are. But don't worry, I'm going to be repeating this as we go through the tenses, and hopefully it's all going to make sense. And also remember, you can ask me questions anytime. Talking about questions, sorry, I cannot really do it in a very sophisticated sort of way, but yeah, this is me, and I'm assuming that you guys can see me. I really freaking hope so. And if there are questions, I will see them here. Okay, cool. No questions so far. Cool. Okay, let's continue. So this was English, yeah? This was the easy part, right? But I think it will make more sense. The second part will make more sense. Okay, the game we're going to play is we're going to try and find the verb in each of those example sentences, okay? I created a table. I started off with the English, like, okay, we drink tea every day. This is a sentence that makes sense in English, okay? Where is the verb? They're also called action words, in a way. So verbs are something you can conjugate. You can put an I, you, he, she, it in front of it, okay? So here, the action is, of course, to drink. So we drink tea every day. This is where our action is. Or, non, pas du tout. Sorry, that is not what I meant to do. Voilà. We drink tea every day. When I use this, so the present simple, right? We are in this square right here. I use it because I want to express that it's a habit, it's something general. Of course, it also has every day at the end of it. But if I just wrote, we drink tea, then I would still know that it's a habit, right? Because it's not, we are drinking tea like we're doing it right now. Like, we drink tea, okay? So, French people, when they want to express a habit or something general, they use the present, of course. Can you spot the present in this sentence? Nous buvons du thé tous les jours. Where might it be? Right here. Nous buvons du thé tous les jours. This is the present. We only have one present in French, okay? So this one looks kind of easy, like, oh, okay, I have a one-bit verb on the left and I have a one-bit verb on the right. Okay, cool. So maybe you're thinking, okay, so present equals present. Okay, big deal. Thanks for the table. I don't think I need it. Always make sure that you understand and when do you use that tense in English. And then, okay, how do the French express that idea? Okay, that idea of habit of something general. Okay, so this is the present. But you guys have another present. Where is it? It's late. They are probably sleeping. You can have a look at the table if you want. What structure is that? Okay, we recognize a first verb. This is great. But be careful, sometimes words are made up of more than one bit. Yes, you guessed it, are sleeping. That is the second bit of the verb. Crap, I did it again. It's okay. Okay, so I cannot say that, oh, the verb is sleeping or the verb is are. No. If I want to be technical about it, we don't have to, but it's the verb to sleep. That's the infinitive when it's all naked. In the present continuous. Right? It's the same structure as this. So it's late, they are probably sleeping. This is your present continuous. We don't have another tense for that. We are using a verbal expression. Here is how it translates. Il est tard, ils sont probablement en train de dormir. You may have recognized the verb to be here. Very good. And then we have en train de, which is kind of like in the process of. So it's as if you guys didn't have the present continuous. You always had to say like, oh, they are in the process of sleeping. Okay, sleeping. Here we have it in the infinitive. This is how we can translate your present continuous. So this is how we express when something is happening at or around the moment of speaking, okay? So again, we went from, okay, they are probably sleeping. I use this structure to talk about something that is happening at the moment of speaking. What do French people use to express this very same thing? Well, we use être plus en train de plus infinitive, okay? Do you see where I'm going with this? Do you see already how translating word for word does not work? Yeah, because it just doesn't. And we had to come up with a whole ass expression when you guys just have a tense for it. So like there is no exact match, unfortunately. We're just doing what we can. That was actually it for the present. Woohoo! Awesome. Let's have a look at the past. There's so many of them. Look at all the past. Don't worry, we're gonna make it work. So hopefully you got the logic of what I'm trying to tell you, okay? Like how we're gonna work through this. Okay, next one. We went to the beach yesterday. Where is the verb? What are we doing? We went to the beach yesterday. Perfect. I used this tense, the past simple, because I'm talking about one specific event in the past. That event is over, okay? We went to the beach yesterday. So again, you have words that help you underline the use of the tense, right? We went to the beach yesterday. So it's not in the future, it's not in the present, it's in the past. Okay. In French, to talk about one specific event in the past that it's over, we use this tense. Here's the example sentence. Nous sommes allés à la plage hier. Oh, okay, so maybe you recognize the verb here, some, but we don't stop here. It's nous sommes allés. This time, the French has a two-bit tense, when the English only has one. Nous sommes allés à la plage hier. This one is called passé composé. I'm sure you've heard of it before. Passé composé because it's composed of two bits, okay? So, to talk about one specific event in the past that's over, the French use passé composé. Nous sommes allés. We're not going to get into the structure of each tense this time, but we will at some point in another webinar. Okay, again, impossible. Like, and it's even an irregular verb. Like, how the hell would you translate went word for word? It's not went that you want to translate. It's the verb to go in that specific tense. This is how you do it. Okay, another type. When I was a kid, we would go to the beach every day. Okay, we actually have two halves of a sentence here, so two verbs as well. When I was a kid, it's the same tense as went. We would go to the beach every day. Maybe this one is a bit trickier, but here the verb is would go. It's the verb to go and the auxiliary, the modal auxiliary, but okay, that gives you extra information. Very quickly, when we looked at these ones, like be plus ing, when I say she is going, the focus is on going, right? Be is just here, it helps structurally, it helps you express that it's happening right now, yeah? So I'm not focusing on the meaning of be, just like here, she has gone. I'm not focusing on the meaning of have. The point is the other half of the verb, going and gone. This is where the action is. This is the meaning I want to look at, all right? Well, it's the same thing with would go, except that since this is a modal auxiliary, it actually adds a little bit of meaning. It modifies the meaning of the verb next to it a little bit, okay? I'm sure we can agree that between we go to the beach every day and we would go to the beach every day, there is a difference in meaning, right? Right? Yes, of course there is. Okay, cool. I'm sure you can sense it. I know you can sense these things. I'm just putting words on them to help you sense it in French as well. Yeah? I hope it still makes sense. I hope it still makes sense. Does it still make sense? Oui. Good. Okay. So, we have two verbs in this sentence. We are more interested in that one, right? Maybe. Because it expresses a past habit. This is what we want to talk about. However, we do have two verbs, so we're going to have two verbs in the French one, right? I think so. And as we can see here, the two verbs are conjugated in two different tenses. Is it going to be the case in French? Let's have a look. Quand j'étais enfant, nous allions à la plage tous les jours. Quand j'étais enfant, nous allions à la plage tous les jours. Voilà, here are our two verbs. Okay, maybe you're shocked. You're like, oh my God, what is going on? Because here, for example, we had went, past simple. Here I have was, also past simple. These two, they are the same tense. And then in French, on the one hand, I have sommes allés, and then this other one, j'étais. The structure is not the same at all. Like, I understand these are two different verbs, but what the hell? Like, they look completely different. Anyway, that's exactly what I'm saying. This is why you cannot just translate word for word. That is just not how it works, okay? Here, we use the passé composé, but to talk about a past habit in French, we use imparfait. Imparfait, okay? Even worse. Look, would go, it's another imparfait. We don't have that kind of modal thing. We don't have would in French. It just doesn't exist. If it's a past habit, it's going to be in the imparfait, and that's it. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's not a lot more useful to understand the concept of past habit and be like, okay, to help you understand it, first we have a look at the English, but the best of the best would be if you understood the concept of past habit and like, oh, okay, I want to talk about a past habit in French, I'm going to use imparfait. Okay? Okay, cool. Next one. They were waiting in line when I called them. Ooh, see how they're getting more and more complex? I love it. They were waiting in line when I called them. We have, again, two verbs. They were waiting. So maybe we're like, oh, what the hell is that tense? Let's see. Were waiting. It ends in ing and it has two bits. It has to be continuous. And the auxiliary is in the past, so bingo, it's past continuous. Okay. They were waiting in line when I called them. When I called them. Okay, and here we have a simple past, just like went, just like was, when I called them. Okay, I guess you won't be too surprised to see that it doesn't really look the same. Maybe you're already thinking like, how could it look the same? I cannot even really compare them. These are two different logics. These are two different languages. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Okay. First verb. Pardon. The sentence. Pardon. The explanation. So, we have the setting first. They were waiting. And then an action, which is usually an interruption. When I call them. Okay? So if we, yep, let me show you my face for a second. So if we had to do like a timeline of this, it would be like they were waiting in line. Okay? This is taking a while. When, shit, what was my sentence? When I called them. Okay, so they were waiting in line when I called them. So they had already started waiting in line before I called them. They probably continued waiting in line when I called them. So this is why it's like a longish thing like this that takes a while. But calling them compared to this longish thing only took a second, like really not long. It's just puff. It's more of a point on a timeline. You see what I mean? So they were waiting in line when I called them. Okay? This is the logic in English. In French, look what we see, once again. Ils faisaient la queue quand je les ai appelés. So the setting is, again, in imparfait. This is an imparfait. And then the interruption, je les ai appelés. It's a passé composé. Ah oui, zut. Alors, attends, je vais faire ça comme ça. Hop là. Passé composé. Like this. Okay? So, I understand why French tenses can be confusing when you think about them with an English brain. It's because, see, here we had imparfait, 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 and once in English, when we used imparfait in French, we used past simple in English, then another time we used would, and then a third time we used the past continuous. So I get it. I hope you understand once more why it's more important to understand this part of the table, okay? Because this is what corresponds. You see, I have two different columns here, but only one overarching column for this, because they want to say the same thing, okay? This is what both structures want to say, they just say it differently. Okay, très bien. Très bien, très bien. Let's keep going. I hope your mind is not exploding already, because we are only halfway through the past tenses. Let's see. Everyone had already eaten when I arrived. Everyone had already eaten when I arrived. Again, we have a verb that's made up of two bits. Here's the first one. Here is the second one. That's our first verb. We can quickly check the structure if you want. Let's see, it has have as an auxiliary and third column as the second part. Have as an auxiliary, third column as the second part, okay? The auxiliary is in the past. Yes, she had gone and they had eaten is the same structure, so it's past perfect. Okay, cool. Everyone had already eaten when I arrived. When I arrived. We know that this is past simple. So, new verb, new tense, sorry, here. Let's see if the French also came up with a new tense. But first, let's analyze it. Here we have two actions in the past, the action of eating and the action of arriving, one after the other. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I guess you could make a bullet point. They're like, okay, they ate and then I arrived. But no, this is more complex. So I arrived. So I could say they ate and then I arrived. But I want to put emphasis on arriving. So I'm like, when I arrived, they had already eaten because I am framing it around my arrival. Okay? This is, so far this is just English, right? This is how you guys do it. Okay? So two actions in the past, one after the other, but my sentence isn't necessarily in chronological order, right? When I arrived, everyone had already eaten. Okay. In French, we have tout le monde avait déjà mangé quand je suis arrivé. Avait mangé. Hop là, that's our first half, so the eating part. Quand je suis arrivé. Hop là, the little e in brackets, it's because it depends who's talking. If it's a man or a woman. Tout le monde avait déjà mangé quand je suis arrivé. Aha! Okay, you probably recognize je suis arrivé. It's a passé composé. I'm going to write it in a second. This one kind of looks like passé composé, right? It has, like, the second bit is the same, the past participle, the participe passé. However, you may have recognized that this is not in the present. The auxiliary is not in the present anymore. It's in the past. So, hello, this is called plus que parfait. Voici le plus que parfait. Hop là, avait déjà mangé, c'est du plus que parfait. Quand je suis arrivé, that's a good old passé composé. Ouais, c'est ça. So when I said that you can't put French in such a neat table as this one, it's true, but for some tenses you can, because here you have something very similar to what's going on right here, which is that, okay, you have je suis arrivé, so that's auxiliary in the present plus past participle, and then avait déjà mangé, auxiliary in the past plus past participle. So the same thing is true as this one. The auxiliary carries everything, the tense and the person. So we could make a table for part of the tenses. Okay, next one. Let me just check. Maybe I should. Ta-da-da-da-da. No, okay, cool. Yes, I've never been to Argentina. I've never been, and I was sneaky here because I abbreviated half of the verb. So it's I have. Purée cacahuète. Je me suis encore plantée, c'est pas grave. I have been. Have been is. Purée, mais c'est pas possible. Pardon. Okay, I've never been to Argentina. Let's check what the structure is. Have plus ed. Have is in the present. Okay, so it's present. Perfect. Cool. I've never been to Argentina. In English, it's a present tense, right? It's in the present line. Because when you say, I've never been to Argentina, it is linked to the present. What you're saying is, up till now, but who knows? I've never been to Argentina. Okay? In French, however, we do not use a present. We use, have a look at this, je ne suis jamais allé en Argentine. We, once again, find our best friend, passé composé. Juste là. Passé composé. C'est ça. So in French, passé composé, passé, right, is past. Because why would you use a form of present? This English tense should not exist. Thank you very much. This is what most French people think about the present perfect. It's just a weird tense for us. This is why I couldn't really find like an overarching thing. Because we feel like this is an invention of you guys. It comes from your brain and we don't really know what to do with it. We just have passé composé. This is perfectly fine for us. Okay. because you guys, sorry, I'm trying still to make you understand it, because you guys link it to the present, you created a special thing, but whereas we are more like, we're good saying something like, I never went to Argentina. That also works. Je ne suis jamais allé en Argentine. That works totally fine for us. Okay. Let's have a look at the next one. I was also sneaky and abbreviated. I'd never been to Argentina. I'd never been to Argentina. You can see that this sentence is very similar to the other one. The only difference is what? The tense of the auxiliary, right? So we are still in this perfect column, but now that the auxiliary is in the past, we are right here. Right here. Cool. I'd never been to Argentina. Je n'étais jamais allé en Argentine. So, in both languages, we could add up till at the end of the sentence. So it is considered similar to two actions in the past, one after the other. Remember? This one. Right here. Yeah? I had never been to Argentina. I had already eaten. Okay? So it's kind of like, I'd never been to Argentina up till last year. Like, up till I bought a ticket and went there. Up until I went. So this is why we don't add the second half. It doesn't make sense. Here, it gives you extra info. We use the same tense, remember, in English. Everyone had eaten when I arrived. Whereas here, I'd never been to Argentina before I went to Argentina. Doesn't really make sense, but still we would have a past simple right here. Okay. So, I gave more intelligent examples here. I went to Argentina last year. I'd never been there before. Je suis allée en Argentine l'année dernière. Je n'y étais jamais allée avant. Okay, so I added an extra bit of the sentence. Like, I went last year, I'd never been before. In French, we are going to use, can you recognize it? It's made of two bits. Je n'étais jamais allé en Argentine. We're going to use oui, the same thing as for two actions in the past, one after the other. Welcome back. Plus que parfait. For the same reason as in English, I'd never been to Argentina before I went. Je n'étais jamais allé en Argentine avant d'y être allé. It's not necessary to add this, right? It's just redundant. Guys, we finished the past. And I think the past was the toughest bit. Although the conditional is no piece of cake either. But no. I really think the past was the toughest bit. So I hope you're still with me. Whether you're watching live or maybe watching it later. But like, we are more than halfway through. We are making this work. I hope you get my logic, and that if you have any questions, you write them in the comments. Please. Like I said, either right now or if you watch it later. I will be watching the comments and answering your questions. Okay? Très bien. Nickel. C'est parti. Ta-da-da-da-da. We finished the past. The future. Oh, we have very little to say about the future. Because in both languages, in English more, in English less so than in French, but basically you can almost use whichever future that you would like, okay? So they will join us later, and they are going to join us later. There is a nuance, there is a difference, but it's pretty much the same thing. In French, very similar. We have a certain form of future, pardon. They will join us later, and they are going to join us later. No, click the right one, please. Yes, c'est ça. So in both languages, you can pretty much use them interchangeably, except in super specific situations. Yes, so they will join us later is close to ils nous rejoindront plus tard. Ooh la 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 la. Ils nous rejoindront. This is futur, simple. Futur simple. Whereas they're going to join us later, you can see the going to, which is the verb aller in French. And here we find it as well. Ils vont nous rejoindre plus tard. Vont rejoindre. Mais oui, c'est donc ça, c'est bien sûr. Okay. And this, it's not a tense. It's kind of like, you know, this one at the very beginning, en train de. It's a verbal expression. This is, I guess, also closer to a verbal expression, but this one actually has a name. It's called futur proche, so like the close future, okay? So, here what we can say, first of all, that you guys also just go off the rails and just have verbal expressions are going to, like, be going to plus verb. It doesn't fit in the table. It was such a neat table. What happened? You guys just had to add another one. Okay, this is something that we also do. But remember that all languages are made up and we can just create whatever the hell we want and nothing actually makes sense until you make sense of it. Okay? Okay. Très bien, très bien. Ils vont nous rejoindre plus tard. So the verb to go in the present and then the infinitive. This is how we create the futur proche. I'm telling you quickly because it's an easy one. As you can see, this other future is a bit different because it's not a verbal expression. It's futur simple. So just like imparfait, for example, you are going to have to learn the endings. You know that this is how French works, right? Like when you learn the présent, for example, of ER verbs, you're like, okay, ES, ONS, EZ, ENT. You take the infinitive, you remove the ending, and then, like the ending of the infinitive ending, like for example, aimer, it would be ER. And then you say, okay, ER, present, what are the endings? ES, ONS, EZ, ENT, and you just add them. So this is how you get j'aime, tu aimes, il, elle, on aime, nous aimons, vous aimez, ils aiment. So the future simple is a proper tense like this, where you're going to need to learn the endings. The endings for je, the endings for tu, the endings for il, elle, on, etc., etc. Okay. Little extra thing that you're going to be very happy to hear. In French, the simple future, so the one that you have to properly learn, is used less and less, especially in oral French. We're still going to need to learn it, but when you talk, you basically can just stick to the futur proche, which is a lot easier to handle because, like I said, you just need to know how to conjugate aller in the present, and that's it. Because then it's just the infinitive. You don't have to do anything with the verb that carries meaning. Okay, guys, hold on to your pants because now comes the conditional. And I did not even put everything in there because this is not all of the tenses. Just like I didn't mention all of the tenses in this beautiful table in English, I'm just showing you which are the ones that we actually use, okay? Let me just make sure that everything is working. Oui, c'est bon, merci. Oula! Ouais, un autre petit truc. Thank you, person watching. I love you. Thank you, other people watching later. I love you too. It's my first time doing this anyway, so it's fine. It's like practice. Okay, conditional. You guys use would to convey the conditional. Okay, remember, we already had some conditional with like would go. Yeah, it would go in the last line. Because remember, we had auxiliaries, and we also have modal auxiliaries. So there is a helping verb. They help a verb do something that it can't do on its own. So like will, would, must, should, can, could, etc., etc. Modal auxiliaries never change. And they add a little bit of meaning to the verb. So it's like it twists it a little bit. Yeah, just like will says, okay, this action, the verb that is coming after me, it's taking place in the present. Okay? Must means you have to do it. Should. See, even this, like, must means you have to do it. Those are synonyms. Like, you can't really, yes, you can say it's an obligation, but like, you guys came up with this. This is absolutely not how we convey obligation. You just have those neat little modal auxiliaries. We have something else. Okay. Okay. So, I would like a piece of cake. Oh boy, yes, I would. I would like a piece of cake. This is a polite request. Yeah? I would like a piece of cake if possible. So here the condition, because this is the conditional, right? The condition is not obvious. It's like, I would like a piece of cake if that's okay, if you have any, if that's possible. This is how we ask for cake in shops. Even when we know we see the cake on the shelf, we will still ask it this way, right? Because we are polite. So it's a polite request. In French, je voudrais un morceau de gâteau. Again, you see that it's only one bit. If it's only one bit, what have we learned so far when it's one bit every time? Well, you're just gonna have to learn the conjugation, you know, the endings for the conditional. Alors, this is conditionnel présent. Okay. See, again, very different logic. We have different types of conditionals. We need to have subcategories for them. So, for polite requests, I'm sure you know this. Je voudrais un café, s'il vous plaît. Je voudrais... In French, like I said, it's a tense on its own. So you need to learn the endings and everything. You don't just slap a modal auxiliary in front of it and just say, oh, that expresses conditional, by the way. This is how you guys roll. This is not how we roll, okay? So you will need to learn the endings and conjugate all the verbs that you would like to put in the conditional. I know, this time it's easier in English. It's just would and then the verb, not here. Désolé. Okay, getting more complex. If I won the lottery, I'd put an end to word hunger. Haha, because then I could, and that would be freaking awesome. If I won the lottery, this is past simple, I was mischievous. I was not mischievous. I'd put an end to world hunger. Remember when we had a little d here? And we also had one here. Here it meant had. I had never been to Argentina. Here, does it mean had? No, it means would. See? That's the kind of stuff that drives French learners of English crazy. That this D can mean two different things. Haha! Is it so logical now? Yeah, I know, we can't figure it out. And it is kind of logical, but none of it is logical. It's just that you guys are used to it, and learners are not used to it. Okay, I would put an end to world hunger. We use these tenses to talk about things that aren't real because they don't fulfill a condition to be real. Okay? So we have two parts of this sentence. If I won the lottery, so winning the lottery is the condition that needs to be fulfilled for me to be able to, second part of the sentence, put an end to world hunger. Right? Right. Wait. Right. Are you following me? Yes? Cool. Why do you guys use the past? I don't know. Why do we also use the past? I don't know. If I want to make sense out of it, because we're talking about stuff that's not real at all. But I guess it kind of makes sense to be like, oh, if I won, let's imagine I have proof to you right now that I won the lottery. It already happened. If winning the lottery had already happened to me, then I would put an end to world hunger. Yeah? So I guess it kind of makes sense. Okay. Donc, si je gagnais au loto, gagner We met it before. It is imparfait. I would put an end. Je mettrai fin à la fin dans le monde. Yes, the end and hunger are pronounced exactly the same and yet spelled different. But this is not the webinar about French pronunciation. It is coming up, but let's not go crazy all at once. Okay, so this is imparfait. Si je gagnais au loto, if I won the lottery, we already saw it before, that a simple past can be translated as imparfait, right? When I was a kid, quand j'étais enfant, we also know it's not always the case. They were waiting in line when I called them, quand je les ai appelés. So it is super relevant. Let's remember that when it's a sentence with a condition, the condition is in imparfait. And then the other half is in, just like the one we saw above, conditionnel présent. Cool. Ouais. And here we are. We arrived to the last one. Enjoy it. It's the last one. If you had warned us about your visit, I would have cooked something, said she passive-aggressively when the offspring showed up with their partner unannounced. Okay, if you had warned us about your visit, had warned is our verb here. It's have in the past plus ed. So, have plus ed, good, it's this one. In the past, okay, then it's this one. If you had warned us about your visit, I would have cooked. Jesus freaking Christ, this one has 3 bits. This is preposterous, and yet it does. I would have cooked has 3 bits. Would on its own doesn't work. Have could, but it would mean something else. Have cooked could have worked. But no, we need the 3. So, oh my God, it seems like we are in the 3rd column. No, we're not. We are not. We are in another place that I did not put in the table. Oh my God. Because, okay, let's not get lost into things, but modals, they work with any tense, right? So actually, we are here, except that we are replacing will with would, right? So it's a perfect tense. But it's not future perfect, it's, see, I would call it a conditional perfect, but you guys don't have that. So it's a perfect with the modal is the best thing I can do. It is made up of 3 bits, but it's not this one. There's no ing in the sentence I just said. It's not in the grid. You guys have a super neat grid. The first column already doesn't make sense compared to the other ones because I don't use the do. And then there's also like extra bits I have to take into account. Your language doesn't make sense either. Okay. Would have cooked 3 bits. Again, we're talking about things that aren't real and they don't fulfill a past condition to be real. Okay? Cooking something, not real. I didn't cook anything. Why not? Because you didn't warn us that you were coming. Warning us is the condition I needed to make the cooking real in the past, okay? I know it's not the easiest, and it's not easy for French learners of English either, for the same reason as it's not easy for you, as in, okay, even in my own language, I know when to use this and when to use that, but I never really had to put words on it. But I think you can feel, because grammar is just putting words on what we feel to be right, okay? I think you can feel that if I won the lottery, I'd put an end to word hunger is less realistic, is further away from real life than if you had warned us about your visit, I would have cooked something. Like, this is much closer to reality. This is closer to the realm of the possible than winning the lottery and putting an end to word hunger. Okay? So, Yes, yes. That is how we translate it in French. Si tu nous avais prévenu de ta visite, so this is the condition, if you had warned us, j'aurais cuisiné quelque chose. I would have cooked something. So here, just like in English, in a way, it's also two things happening one after the other. Yes? Two things happening one after the other. We find this tense, had eaten, same as had warned, right? Well, guess what? Tu nous avais prévenu, same tense as this one. Avait déjà mangé. So welcome back, plus que parfait. We were expecting you. Plus que parfait, right? Because it is two actions happening one after the other, except that they did not happen. See how, sorry, did I mention that I swear? Do you see how effed up, in case I didn't mention it before, it is? So it's we're putting actions in order that did not happen, and yet we still make sense of it all. Okay, so plus que parfait, so this is the action that didn't happen first. And j'aurais cuisiné, maybe you guessed it, it is conditionnel passé, right? Conditionnel présent, like if I want to, je mettrais, like right now, if I want, right now, I would end world hunger. I would put an end to world hunger. Whereas in the second one, well, if you had warned me in the past, I would have cooked in the past as well. Conditionnel passé. I think that makes sense. Yeah? I really hope it does. So, I know this is a lot. Hello again. I know this is a lot. I'm not expecting you, like I tell my students, I'm not expecting you to remember every single thing from now on and forever. It's just that hopefully you manage to follow the logic every time I explained. Like, English is structured like this because it wants to say this. The way we say this in French is with this structure. Okay? And you don't even need to remember all the things, because if you understood the logic, then next time I mention this, I know that you have a little something to hold on to. You might not remember it then. I'm like, yeah, remember? And then like, oh yeah, I guess, okay. And you might have a look at this table again and like, oh yeah, okay. And every time it's just, something to hold on to. And this is how you create a path, This is how you learn a language, among other things, like the abstract part, the theoretical part, It's like, learning is like a walk in the forest. If you take this way for the first time, then maybe you need even a freaking machete just to be able to go where you want to go. But if you use the machete once already, you probably don't need to take it the second time, right? Because you already cut all the things that you don't want in your way. And you can recognize the path, even if you don't know it by heart. And then since you tread on it, you can tell that this is the way to go, and then it just gets easier and easier to go that way, to go towards your goal. Yeah? I think it's a great metaphor for learning in general, and it works for grammar as well. So, I hope this was useful. Like I said, I know it was a lot. Don't need to remember it all. Just hopefully you managed to follow the logic, and you are very, very welcome to ask me any question whatsoever in the comments, and I will answer them later on. Okay? Again, this is not easy. This is a bit hard, but it's part of language learning. So if you're like, oh, damn, like I'm not sure, it's perfectly normal, and ask me any question, and I will tell you what is going on. Okay? Cool. Let me check very quickly if I have anyone else. No. Ooh, comments. Where? Crap. It says I have 2 comments. And I don't know where. Oh no. Attends. Can you tell? Ooh. Can you tell that it's my first time doing this through Facebook and not with Canva, for example? Okay, this does not look good. Okay, whatever. Sorry, I'm gonna check the comments right now. I wanted to show you one last thing. This is my website. There is a link somewhere to the website. I will add another one in the comments so that if you want to learn more about me, it's right here. And also there's a group session starting first week of June. It's the summer course of 2025. You can learn more about it here. And if you are interested, then you can fill in this Google form and we can get started in like 2 weeks time. Yeah, what do you think? I hope that sounds good. But I will actually have a special, like a trial lesson, but like in common, like a webinar like this, but about the course, so that you can ask me any question and see if it's a good fit, and I can show you what are the tools that I use to teach French. And even before that, I'm going to do another webinar, a webinar series, I believe. It's not going to be about tenses, but it's going to raise your linguistic awareness further. And like I said, in my, not only opinion, but in my experience, this is the game changer. Like, between my students who are doing well and those who are doing very well, the difference is their level of linguistic awareness. And I know it sounds counterintuitive that you need to learn more about your own language before you learn about French. I mean, at the same time, actually, don't worry. But it really, really, really helps. I see it every day, okay? Thank you for being here, and I very much hope to see you soon. Let me know if you liked this webinar. And again, don't hesitate to ask me any question whatsoever. Check out my website, check out anything you'd like, and have a nice evening, I guess. Au revoir tout le monde! Salut!